Hello and welcome to the What's On podcast, episode 10, double digits. My name is Zachary.
My name is Ryan.
And today we are going to be talking about the films of Mr. Quentin Tarantino. So, as normal, we're going to go into news and then crack on with the main stuff. Thing that happened last night was the Oscar nominations came out, which Joker, which we did our very first podcast on, got 11 nominations, the most of it, so which... not surprised about, but also was a tad surprised about because I didn't really think they'd go all in on it.
Well, you never know. I mean, like when we watched the film and obviously when we reviewed it, we said it was an amazing film, and I'm sure many other people agree. So even though it's got controversial parts of it, every film has got controversial parts that people are not going to like. No one's going to like everything.
I think it's also because it's based on a comic book. I thought because they had that with The Dark Knight when Heath Ledger got obviously nominated and won. The supporting actor, but it didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
Yep.
And most people theorised it was because it was a comic book movie.
Yep.
So that's why I was surprised why this one, for one of the reasons why it got so many.
Well, you never know. I mean, like some of the ones, I mean, are quite... I've only got 4 that I can remember, and I've got 5 that I can. I mean, Best Actor, that's pretty fair. Yeah. Best Picture, like you say with The Dark Knight. I mean, some of the stuff that's in it is pretty good, and it's realistic wise. Best Director, again, kind of works. Best Score, I don't get what it means by the score.
I think it's just like the mute, but then again, what sound design then into it?
Yeah, I know.
It's the same with it. I think there's arguments between like adapted and original screenplay. Like they've separated that just so they can have more nominations. I know most films like break between original, which is their own idea and everything, and adapted, which is normally from some other source.
Yeah.
But they can manipulate it a bit. I can't remember there was a particular example I read up on, but they can iffy it a bit. Another one, did you say?
Cinematography.
Yeah, I can see that.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I can remember. I think they had like music and stuff as well, but.
Cinematography, from what I've heard, I think it's going to go to 1917 from,
I'd assume so.
Joker, I can imagine winning Best Picture and Best Actor.
Yeah.
I've not watched enough of the Best Director stuff because it's like The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think.
Yeah, 1917.
I can't remember the other one, and Joker, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to win that. So also I was happy about Parasite, which is the South Korean film getting nominated for Best. That was the other one.
Parasite.
Best Picture.
Yeah.
I've not seen it yet. I meant to watch it over this last week, but I forgot. But it's meant to be an incredible film, and it's nice to see it being included in such big nominations because they've always been in like still in a separate category, international feature films. But I think it's the first one to ever be nominated for a Best Picture, and the first like subtitled film to be nominated for a Best Picture, which I think's great because most people immediately disregard any film if it has subtitles. There was a bit of miffness from Twitter and such like because in the Best Directors, it was all males. So
I hate this part when it comes to the Oscars because you shouldn't be voting on people due to their gender or their colour. It should be their skill. Obviously,
I agree with that totally. The main point is not just the male aspect. There's a film Little Women based on the book, and apparently it was nominated. It's like in that tier of best films they nominated, and people are getting miffed because this Greta Gerwig hasn't been nominated in the same thing. But I don't know how they nominate. I know there's been previous occasions when it's been more obvious where they've disregarded certain actors, directors. We're just like, how the hell did that not get nominated? So it might be one of those occasions. It might be because there's just been a lot of quality films this year.
Yeah. So, well, that's it. You can only do as best as the other pictures, can't you? So, obviously, looking at it, there's quite a few good films this year. So,
yeah, The Irishman surprisingly got a lot of nominations. I know it's Scorsese. It's his bread and butter gangster film, 3.5 hours long, which is why I still not touched it.
I haven't touched it yet either.
But it's had so many nominations. That brings in like Best Supporting Actor. Like, listen to this list: Tom Hanks, Anthony Hopkins, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
A bunch of no names, basically.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think
that must have cost a lot to get them all on it.
No. That's the three of those. Two of those were Al Pacino and Joe Pesci. They're from The Irishman, but those are the 5 nominations for Oscars.
So.
And like the average age someone did it is like 60 between them. So obviously Brad Pitt drags it down, but I think he's getting on a bit now.
I think he's nearly 50.
So
getting towards it anyway.
But that's pretty impressive. It's like a bunch of names from before even our time, really. Not say films we've seen, but there's also Scarlett Johansson, who's been nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. So got 2 shots at it, which I've not seen before. There's been occasions.
Give it a try.
Yeah. And a funny one I saw on Twitter was Uncut Gems, which was the film made by Adam Sandler.
Yep.
Which is meant to be this really great film, and it's like a more serious film. Like when you think of Adam Sandler, you think of like comedy films and such like.
Or not so comedy films.
Yeah, or in the last few years, not the best films in the world. To put it mildly. What was that really horrific one? That's when with the games going around the place.
Oh yeah, I know which one. Pixels.
Yeah, I didn't even, like, I had a 10-foot pole and then I extended it. I tried to stay away from that one. That was meant to be really good, and people are gutted about it, but then there'll be many films. But a funny thing that happened on Twitter was, do you remember Waterboy, if you've seen it?
I've not seen it, I don't want to see it, but yeah, I know
it. It's alright.
I know
it's a classic Sandler film, but one of the characters, his mama, which in the film, she's been nominated, or the film's been nominated that she's in. So they have this funny little thing on Twitter where it's saying, "A big well done." It's like, I'm gutted about this Oscar snub, but oh well, big congrats to mama. And then she responded like in character on Twitter, like saying, what did they say? So like, "Don't worry, Billy boy. I've just picked up some slang. I know you're the goat, not the one we eat at home, but you're the goat." So it was a funny little transaction if you've seen it on Twitter and know the film. That was everything I saw from the Oscars. Do you have anything before I go on?
Well, just a quick one for the Xbox and games and stuff. So the Xbox Series X will be appearing this year at E3 2020.
Yep.
Whereas the PS5 will not be.
Yep.
But I've also saw this morning as well that the Series X is possibly going to be able to play Steam games.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Obviously nothing's been said about the PS5, but we shall see.
Yeah, that'd be a big introduction, because that'd be like direct. If it's got like direct connected with Steam, you can just play all your games that you would otherwise play on PC on your.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be alright.
That'd be impressive. I mean, on top of the Xbox Pass, which gives you access to a whole host of games as well.
Yeah. All your Steam games as well, if you have any.
That's interesting.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Another one I've seen is about a new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
And the director, Scott Derrickson, has left it, citing the old gag of creative differences.
I think I came across that a little bit, because didn't he want to do it as a form of like horror or in that sort of format?
Well, make it a bit more serious than how Marvel films are. Yeah. Because when you watch a Marvel film, it's not serious really, is it? Because you get all the gags and everything.
They have serious moments in fun films. Whilst I don't know, like DC, I know they've had some bad films recently, but in the films that they've done well, they've done the serious route well. I think they took it too far over the last few years, but they've gone like too serious and badly. But meh. A game I'm excited for, which you probably know from previous ones from FromSoft, is Elden Ring, which is their next IP, their next project after Sekiro. So they're going to showcase some of that next month at some game event in Taipei. So excited to see how that's going to be, because it's meant to be, again, a lot different. Because they've done pretty well, because they were mainly known for like the Dark Souls series, and then when they did Bloodborne, that was separate, that was its own project. They obviously all have similar feels like Sekiro does. But it's amazing to see that they can keep the same theme in different worlds that they're creating. And Elden Ring is this one, it's going to be more open world, which a lot of games seem to be going into. I think we talked about that a couple of episodes ago. But Elden Ring is also one that he's co-written the story with George R.R. Martin. So I'll be very interested in how that turns out. Black Widow, another trailer came out yesterday. Taskmaster was revealed as the villain of the piece, and he's appeared to be the same character from the comics.
Yeah.
There's a scene at the end, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but there's a scene at the end where he flips the same way as Scarlett Johansson does. So his ability of mimicry of others' fighting styles is going to be in there. So I think that'll be interesting. Again, the biggest things in news always seem to be the comic books, but I think that's because they just churn them out so much. But it seems like half the news every week.
Every time you look.
But Morbius, which is a character in the Spider-Man universe, a trailer came out of that, which is he's like a vampire anti-hero set in the Spider-Man universe, and it's going to be set in the Sony Spider-Verse as well, so the Tom Holland and Venom verse. But it's interesting, something that I read up on was the arrangement Sony have got with Marvel now, that because you had the big disagreement,
the massive thing about
Spider-Man was, and so what the decisions or how it's going to work now, Sony's going to have its own little Spider-Verse, which is going to include those 3 films I mentioned. Marvel's going to do Marvel with Spider-Man at certain points, but the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, is going to affect the Sony Spider-Verse.
Okay.
But the films in the Spider-Verse aren't going to affect the MCU, which is going to be interesting.
Throws them a bit off there, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's
you're going to have to be you're going to be a bit confused, like, oh, that happened, but oh no, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Something happened in Doctor Strange which affected Venom 3, but Venom 3 didn't affect Thor 20. Knights of the Old Republic, they're apparently making a film and TV series, or potentially.
Yeah.
So
Disney X again or something then.
Yeah, Disney.
Typical.
So could be interesting. I've played the game ages ago.
Yeah.
Good story, and be interesting how they develop it. Although I'm surprised now that I thought they were going to make more original stuff as opposed to.
Well, you've got loads of stuff that you can do with Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, it's away from like the Star Wars that we know.
Yeah.
So you can do loads more.
Yeah. Tenet, the Christopher Nolan film that's coming out this year, it's apparently got a budget of 200 million.
It's not the biggest. It's big, but
it's before advertising. It's
still a lot.
That's huge. That's a lot of reliance on Nolan, or a lot of faith in Nolan that he's going to pull this out.
It's a lot of expense, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember. I think was Wolf of Wall Street 100 million?
Yeah, it wasn't lots. I think it was about 100 million, 90 million.
So Wolf of Wall Street, the 3-hour and a bit film, is half as much as what Nolan's got to play about with in this next film. It's
a lot of it, yeah.
TV, I don't know if you've seen Hannibal.
Not the TV series,
Matt
no.
Mikkelsen, but there's meant to be a spin-off of Silence of the Lambs with Clarice character, so I can't remember which distribution channel, whether it's Netflix, Amazon, whoever it is, they're going to do it, but they're going to do a TV series of it, so everyone's now checking out Hannibal, which I think is good because it's one of the best series I've seen. So that should be interesting when it comes out, but I don't know how they're going to beat Hannibal.
I know, yeah. You'll see.
Yeah,
just have to wait and see.
I know you've not played much of The Witcher 3,
yep.
but we always seem to bring up Witcher as well. But you've seen the character Vesemir in the start of the game, like as the mentor to Geralt, and father figure and such like. There's slight rumours, which I don't like to comment on, but I think this would be really good if it happened, would be Vesemir being played in Season 2 by Mark Hamill.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I think he'd do a good job.
I think, for his face and everything about how he is, I think it would work.
So I'd be excited if that happened. I'm excited enough to bring it up on this, even though it's a rumour. And the last thing was, again, superhero thing. I need to find some more original stuff. Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was the crossover TV show we mentioned ages ago, that's concluding tonight, which is the 14th of January, and tomorrow night. So should be interesting how that goes because I caught up on it. It was quite good. Lovely.
Last thing of news that I've seen was that obviously 1917 only came out last week, a few days ago. On the opening weekend in the UK alone, it made £7.3 million.
Okay, doesn't sound...
Just in the UK though, just to start it off. But in the US, 36.5 million. bit more there. But just it's the opening weekend. I mean, again, it had a budget, I'm pretty sure, of about 100 million.
Yeah, and it's not one of those that people are going to flock to. It's one of those decent ones that people are just going to keep going to.
So just have to wait and see. I mean, it won't be a flop.
No,
not a chance will that be a flop. But for an opening weekend, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
maybe it could be a bit better in the UK. 7.3 is not the best, but
it's funny. I should read into it a bit more, but I don't understand how these nomination things work, because 1917 is obviously for the public. It's only come out in the last week or so.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's been previews and stuff like that.
That's what I mean. Like the critics, like which films are shown prior. Like, do they have to pay? Like, they have to pay certain.
I think there's got to be something you've got to pay to do.
Like to say, can we preview this film to you? Can we show this film to you?
Yeah.
It's coming out because it's getting nominated for 2019 stuff, but it's coming out for us in 2020.
Yeah.
So
it only came out on Friday, I'm sure.
So it's like, it seems a really odd way of doing it to say.
I think when they did the previews, I'm sure they did them at the end of last month.
No, that's what I mean. That's why it's weird.
To try and keep it into 2019.
But it's just like,
I know,
nipping in right at the end. It's like putting in like your project like right at the end, just to go, this will be the last thing you remember. Yep. So you'll definitely give it some nods. But it's obviously a decent film, from what we've heard, but it's an odd way of doing it, and I'd like to know a bit more how they actually judge it, or how they submit the film. Or if there even isn't a submission, they just have a gander around the film and go, oh, we've seen this.
That's alright.
Looks alright. It's been there. Let's send it an award of a golden gown. Anyway. So, going into the main thrift of it is the Quentin Tarantino films. So we're going to start off with Reservoir Dogs. Do you want to give a brief overview of it, or do you want me to do it?
I'll do it. So, Reservoir Dogs is it's a simple film, really. Yeah. It's the story of a jewellery heist that was being done by 6 men, all with aliases.
Yep.
Let's try that again. And performed by a gang who are you only really see as the father and son of them. But this jewellery heist goes wrong, and with obviously them thinking, the police were already here waiting for us. They think that one of them, they start to suspect each other, thinking that one of them's a police informant.
Yeah.
But as a general trait when it comes to Tarantino films, it's never in the right order.
Yeah.
Ever.
He has a very big trait of non-linear storytelling, or in certain films non-chronological storytelling.
That's it. I mean, because in the opening credits, they're all together before the heist in a cafe talking. So alright, that's fair. And then once the opening credits finish, it cuts to Mr. Orange bleeding in the back of a speeding car with Mr. White driving. That's just completely shot over everything, and you're like, what the hell's happened here?
Because right at the start of the film you think, this is just going to be like a heist film or something, but it cuts to the aftermath of the said heist, but then proceeds to tell a story through that and through flashbacks.
Well, you never actually, here's the thing with the film, obviously, you never actually see the heist.
No.
It leaves it to your imagination, which I guess is a good way of doing a film, because the main part of the film is all in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Where that was their safe house after the heist has happened. So the first people to get there are Mr. Orange and Mr. White, and then I can't remember. It's who turned up next? It was Mr.
Blonde.
Was it Mr. Blonde? Yeah. So he turned up and obviously has the same suspicions, and says that he's got diamonds. Because they were trying to go for some diamonds.
It's Mr. Pink, Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
Turns up with then they chat with Mr. White, and then Mr. Blonde turns up.
Mr. Blonde turns up, yeah. So basically, it just chops and changes between all these different characters. Keep suspecting each other.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing is that obviously it leaves a lot to the imagination, and it goes flashbacks and shows you their getaways and everything. But it also it's got just enough violence to keep you intrigued. I mean, so when Mr. Blonde turns up, he brings with him a cop that he's captured. So that was a gruesome part of the film.
That was an iconic part of the film as well. Sticking With You or something like that. He's done the song too. What I really liked about that scene as well was, obviously it was meant to show that he was a psychopathic killer who... but one filmmaking part of it that I really enjoyed was he went out of the warehouse to get something out of his boots, some fuel out of his boots, and the music stopped. Like, obviously the music was indoors, the music thing, and then when he came back in, the music was still playing, which I thought was a really good interaction.
Like a little touch in it.
Yeah, because I would imagine most films, the sound's put in afterwards as opposed to it playing. So I think that was just a really smooth way of filming it.
But then obviously with that, you've got the bit of torture going on there, won't you? Because obviously you poured the fuel over the cop, and he also cut his ear off, which was a nice gruesome part of it.
Just pleasant.
I know.
And he's called Vic Vega.
Yeah.
And he's canonically the brother of Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction, who we'll come on to in a minute.
Keeping it all together, eh?
Sort of. Obviously, he's a brother of that, but Mr. White, who's called Larry something, he's not Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction. So there's some, like, it's not a canon universe that he's made. It's just that's one little thing that they put in.
Yeah. But then you've obviously got the other traits of showing the getaway of Mr. Blue, Mr. White, and Mr. Orange.
Not Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue died.
Oh, yeah, it's Mr. No, there is another one that did die, and it was Quentin Tarantino.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
There you go. There's another trait for you.
Yeah,
Quentin Tarantino playing as a role in his own picture.
So just brought up two like traits there. Like he has the trait of like appearing in his own films to various degrees. In some, he's just been like a person in the background. In a couple, he's been like not major parts, but he's been more of a talking. Like in this one, he plays Mr. Brown, which is one of the members. He's only in it for the opening scene,
and then for a little bit of the getaway.
And then we can bring it up later. I'll bring him up later, but he does have a tendency to like bring in his own foot. And the other trait that I wanted to mention was violence. That is a big staple of his films. Yeah. This one, it's not toned down, but there's less.
There is less of it.
Yeah, less. I think it's less time for it because most of the focus is around the interaction between like the characters, like Mr. White, Mr. Pink. And then when Mr. Blonde gets involved, it's all talking, and the flashbacks is there to serve information. Yeah. It's like later films that it's more... He has more time for it, but longer films, they're on different topics. This was his first his first film, basically. But yeah, that's one of his things that he then brought on later on, like just keeping that violence aspect of it.
Yep. Anything? Carry on.
So, one of the ones I wanted to talk about was how he puts... sort of sympathy towards Mr. White, because Mr. White's meant to be your focus. You're meant to agree with him, like. But at the end of the day, he's still this person who's robbed a place. He's still a morally bad character. I won't say villain because it's not that sort of film. But he's morally bad. He's a criminal. Yeah. But he's meant to be the character you're meant to be behind. Like at the end of the film, he's like standing up for what he thinks is a younger version of himself. I imagine he's a veteran criminal, and he thinks this kid just got shot in his first job.
Wants to help him out.
Yeah, and will actually kill his actual friend or someone he's known for a long time in this industry in this area. It's Joe. He like shoots him and shoots his son. Even though he's not known this kid for this younger version because he's older than me. But that's the sort of relationship they have in the film, isn't it? He's the not father figure, but the older veteran.
He's protecting him because at one point he says that he told him his name. He's like, well, I thought the kid was dying. I'm not just going to leave him there. He told me his name. And everything. So obviously he was trusting him and wanting to comfort him as well.
Because I think we brought this up a couple of weeks ago with the Scorsese films with DiCaprio's Wolf of Wall Street, where you're meant to feel for this character even though he's a morally bad character or morally bad person. I think it's a really interesting part of certain films and filmmaking in general. But it's also weird when you like take it back and think, I'm rooting for this person to come out on top, in effect. But then again, he's just robbed, killed cops. Like they've shot cops, killed cops. stolen someone's possessions. Yep. It's a weird thing when you think about it, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of like an audience like view of it, and if you've got a focus on someone, you want to root for them, don't you?
Yeah.
You learn more about them. You don't care about the side characters or the extras that you never see again.
Yeah.
You've got these ones in front of you that you like. They get you to like them, and then feel sorry for them and root for them.
Yeah. So from all of them, which one was your favourite out of all of them? Out of the various aliases?
Well, you never really see Mr. Blue.
Yeah. I'll bring it up in a sec. Well, no, I'll bring it up now.
Yeah, do it.
But Mr. Blue was Natural Criminal. The actor who played him was a various offended I don't think he killed anyone, but he drugs, extortion, all this, and then he wrote novels in prison. Came out of prison, did some acting, and so he was natural. He did.
Throwing him in it.
He did. I read it somewhere. He did better bank robberies than in the film.
Oh god!
So that was a hilarious thing.
Typical.
But I can't remember the actor's name, but
no, I can't. Again, you don't see Mr. Brown that much.
Not surprising. It's Tarantino.
No,
he's not going to be a starring role in his own.
No. That'd be a bit too much.
That'll be his last film.
Yeah.
He's the main character.
I really like the character of Mr. White.
Yep.
Like a veteran criminal who's been doing this for years and years and years.
Played by Harvey Keitel, I think.
Yes, Harvey Keitel. Yeah.
Yep.
So even though he's a morally bad guy, he's got some good traits about him, like we've said. I mean, he wants to protect.
He's got principles.
Yeah, he has got certain principles.
Yeah.
But I like his character a lot.
This I really liked Mr. Pink's or Steve Buscemi, Mr. Pink. I think he's like he's a criminal in himself.
Yeah.
But he seems to be calling everyone and everything as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening scene's hilarious when it's basically 4 minutes of him complaining about tipping.
Yeah.
But then also near the end when Mr. White is trying to backtrack a bit from this criminal, saying, okay, we need to be more personable.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, my name's Larry. And he's like, whoa, don't tell me your name. I'm not going to tell you. And you never find out what Mr. Pink's name is, do you? Because he sticks the end. I can't remember properly. Did he get arrested at the
Mr.
end?
Pink?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Because he ran out with the diamonds.
He ran out with the diamonds, and then you hear the police arrive, and you hear them apprehending him.
Yeah.
So he's really the only one that comes out of this
alive.
Because there you go. We haven't actually said anything about the ending.
Oh yeah, everyone dies. Well,
everyone dies apart from Mr. Pink, because basically it comes up to that the father and son. I can't remember the names of the characters.
Joe and I can't remember the son's name. Yeah, I think so.
Eddie. Yeah, so they turn up and obviously say that we know who the actual police informant is, and they say it's Mr. Orange, who's on the floor dying as he's been shot. Funnily enough, not by a policeman. No,
that was an interesting point because that's the basis of Mr. White protecting him, isn't it? He took a bullet for him, or. But it was actually just a woman, wasn't it?
It was just a woman that they tried to steal the car off. And she shot him, he shot her, she died, he didn't. To a point. Yeah. But basically it was like a Mexican standoff, all of them pointing guns at each other and everything. And then they all go off, start shooting. Eddie and Joe both die. Yeah. Mr. Pink is hidden.
Oh yeah, he stays out of the way.
He was like, I'm not doing this. Mr. White is wounded. Yeah. Mr. Orange got shot again, which is just typical. And then he's obviously mortally wounded now.
Well, he was already. I mean,
another one.
The blood that was pouring out of him.
I know. But then obviously he admits to Mr. White that he is actually a police officer, and
then I think he kills it. It's inferred that he kills him putting his gun to his head.
But you hear the shot as well, because obviously you hear Mr. White start to sob with like frustration and anger, and then shoots him, and then the police shoot him, and then it cuts to black.
And the Mexican standoff, I had to look through the clip, and it's Mr. White actually kills both Joe and Ed. He kills Joe. Joe shoots Orange. He shoots Joe. Yeah. Eddie shoots him, and he shoots things. So
as quick as that.
It's a pretty quick thing. Yeah. And friggin' Mr. White must be an ace shot if he managed to like get them both properly
shot.
Yeah. But there's a couple of like iconic things as well, because we've done this. What I'm doing at the minute is like rubbing my index finger and my thumb together, which means the world's smallest violin, which is like, oh, this is how much sympathy there is. This small amount, like someone's playing a violin, and that comes from this.
It does.
It was Mr. Pink doing that during the tipping scene, saying, "This is the world's smallest violin for all the waitresses in America or wherever it was. I can't remember where it was set. New York.
It was around the New York area, basically.
But just going on some real life stuff, Mr. Pink being played by Steve Buscemi, and something I didn't know, but I knew he was a firefighter previously, but something I didn't know was during like the 9/11 stuff, he went and volunteered for the fire for his ex fire engine and service.
Yeah, he went and
worked several days on 12-hour shifts to do it, which I thought was something worth mentioning, really.
And I knew that for quite a while. It's a nice, interesting fact about just a normal actor, isn't it?
And then I read a little bit more, and he's done a lot of advocation towards it and funding and such like. And then I think he's been named an honorary captain in whatever league or not league, but like whatever the whatever the company or organisation that covers firefighters is. Yeah, been named an honorary captain. So just some interesting stuff there. Reservoir Dogs, it's a short one, but I think it's really easy rewatch and really nice.
You can definitely watch it again, and I mean, characters are good. It gets you going, and it, like I said, it has violence. Doesn't have a lot of violence, but
it is a character-centric film. Even with the undertone of it's violent, it's criminals, but it's more about character relationships.
It's more about talking and seeing what's happening and everything, trying to make sense of it all.
Well, yeah, I really liked Reservoir Dogs. Going on to his next one, which is Pulp Fiction, which is probably, I'd say, the most famous, potentially.
Probably, yes.
I was thinking Django, but I think that's a hyped one, but I think in terms of scale of how many people know it, Pulp Fiction's probably up there. And Pulp Fiction's that's been like, there's some sort of registrar somewhere for films that they're preserving to say this is excellent filmmaking, and this is one that's been introduced or indoctrinated into that registrar.
Well, it definitely should be.
So this one's an odd one to explain because, like Ryan mentioned about his odd filmmaking style, like non-linear, and mentioned non-chronological, and this is the non-chronological one, which I mean in that by he films scenes and storylines out of place, and it only. So there's three storylines mainly. One to do with a boxer, one to do with a cafe scene where there's a robbery happening, and one between two criminal associates named Jules and Vincent. So those three storylines, the scenes from their storylines are like intercut in a very non-linear.
And there's four.
Oh, go on.
Because obviously you got Vincent and Jules. You've got the two robbers in the cafe. You've got the boxer. But you've also got Vincent and Mia. Yeah, that's four. Yeah, true. Four intertwining storylines.
So what this means is like there can be a scene in the first half of the film where a character is shot dead, but then the next scene that plays is that character from the different storyline going about his business. So it's been out so long, so it's not really spoiler territory, but the character of Vincent Vega, he's shot by the boxer at a point in the film, and then one of the next scenes is Vincent Vega then doing something with Jules, or Jules, which is his partner. So it's a hard one to explain without having watched it.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion, because it's like, you're there, he dies, and then it's like, he's back.
Yeah. But it's something so different that it's really interesting, and it's obviously one of the best films ever made. It's hard to explain.
It's the thing. It's over a few days. It's events happening over the space of, I think it's about 4 days, 4 or 5 days. Yeah. So obviously you've got the first. Well, I think the chronological order of it was.
The chronological is like Jules and Vincent going to pick up the thing, the suitcase. they bring it back to Marcellus.
Yep.
Then it's the boxer.
No, then it's Mia and Vincent. Then it's the boxer, and then it's the. Then
it'll be the.
And then that's it. Boxer's the end.
Well, yeah, the boxer does his thing. He goes.
Yep.
And because he kills Vincent first, and then he does this stuff in the Gimps stuff, and then it also finishes with Jules in the cafe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's very confusing.
But looks into it. A company called Miramax produced the film, but it first was put towards a company called TriStar Pictures, who turned it down and quoted as the script was too demented.
Demented.
Which was great. But it's another staple of Tarantino is iconic scenes.
Yeah.
Like there are scenes from the film that come to mind, like Reservoir Dogs, the torture scene.
Yeah.
That's, you think of the film, you think of those iconic scenes. And it's the same with every film you can think of. But I think Tarantino has a focus on making these scenes with the intention of being iconic.
Yeah.
Like this one, that's obviously one of the biggest, most iconic scenes in probably film history, is Samuel L. Jackson's monologue.
Yeah.
Of and I should have looked up the verse of the Bible, but his
Ezekiel 25:17.
There you go.
There you go. Done.
And his recital of that before shooting the guy in the sea, like that's,
who stole Marcellus Wallace's prized possession,
which you never actually find out what it is.
You know, I think it'd say it's gold, but there's obviously theories going around and everything. One of them that I've seen was,
is it soul?
It's Marcellus Wallace's soul.
Yeah, I saw
that's
that
a funny one.
Ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not read into it in ages, but it's something to do with, and he got a plaster on the back of his neck, and then there's something to do with some sort of religion or something that believes that the soul comes through the back of your neck or on your head or wherever his plaster is on Marcellus. That's where they believe the soul comes from, and so they believe that the soul is in the suitcase.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's theories in it, and you never find out. So it's open for theorising because that's why I didn't show it. But I wanted to bring this up a little bit because the Mia character, she overdoses, and it's a very not real life, but it doesn't hold back on showing what an overdose is like him stabbing this big needle into her chest when they're trying to give him the adrenaline. Because what she do? She snorts heroin.
She snorts heroin, which you shouldn't do because it's too damn strong.
I mean,
I've never done it.
Taking away your experience, of course.
Yeah. Well, basically, she's.
Tell me, Ryan. How is the proper way to administer heroin?
It's injection.
No, the correct answer is not at all.
Well, there's that, but through injection. Basically, she's wearing Vincent's coat.
Yep.
And obviously he goes to his drug dealer before the night, to Lance. Yep. And buys heroin off him because he wanted to go and get some cocaine, but Lance was like, no, these are for my prize customers. This is coming back. Yep. Here's a bit of heroin. So obviously he's got that in like a bag and it looks like cocaine. Yep. And obviously you find out that Mia likes doing cocaine because she does it at the restaurant, doesn't she? Which also Steve
Buscemi. Oh, he was a waiter, wasn't he?
He's the waiter.
Yeah, I read that because he didn't have time to do like full character in it, so just did a little cameo.
Yeah, he's in it. But obviously she sees it, thinks it's cocaine, snorts it, it's too much, she ODs.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring that up because I don't think, apart from Requiem for a Dream, if you've seen that.
I haven't, no.
And this is to say I've not seen every film out there recently, so I don't know what, if on showings of it it's as visceral, if it's as showy, but the older films seem to be they didn't hide it as much. Like an OD was this horrific, disgusting thing that was happening, like this up front, like I'm going to have to stick this needle into your chest. It was meant to shock you. Yeah. And I think I've not seen as many of those kind of scenes, whether that be violence or overdosing or drug use, in as much in
detail.
In stuff nowadays. It's more behind doors or implied or stuff like that. And I don't know if that's because people are more mad nowadays.
Maybe.
So yeah, that was just an interesting point I wanted to bring up around that. Just
people just start to seem to complain a bit more at times now. But in that scene with the OD, there is a bit of funniness in it a little bit. They take out the seriousness with a bit of comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when he's driving to the house, he crashes into the house.
Oh.
Brings it, and he's like, right, you're going to give it the shot. No, I ain't giving it the shot. You're going to give it the shot. Hey, you're bringing this ODing bitch into it. You're going to give it the shot. It's the day that I bring an ODing girl to your house is the day that I give her a shot. I ain't starting now.
I mean, Tarantino said himself, he makes films he makes scenes that are funny that are not supposed to be funny. And that's the theme throughout his whole films. Just this stuff that shouldn't be laughed at. If it was an actual situation, you wouldn't be laughing at it, but it's still humorous or a form of humour.
Well, it's like obviously the scene where Marcellus Wallace and the boxer are fighting, and then they end up in the Gimp, down in the Gimp basement with Zed. That's just weird. Yeah, that was
the Gimp. A very weird scene. But that's another like iconic one, isn't it? Like, I found it a great scene from like Willis is like going through all his various. Like, okay, I could use a baseball bat. I could use I don't think he has a gun, but I could use a gun.
A chainsaw.
A chainsaw. Nah.
Katana.
Bring out the katana. This is perfect. And then obviously Marcellus, he's not even looking at Willis in the aftermath. No. He's just like going, I'm just going to show this fool how with some pliers and some
blowtorch, pair of pliers and a blowtorch.
What is it? I'm going to go medieval on this. Yeah, so
can you sword him? You wouldn't say that. No.
Well, that's why he gets rid of Willis, doesn't he? He goes, okay, me and you, we're done. Like, there's nothing between us as long as you don't mention this and you get out of LA. A funny little interesting point was obviously another iconic scene was Vincent killing Marv. Accidentally. My God, I shot Marv in the face.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know.
I did it as an accident. I'm sorry.
Oh God. But he killed Marvin. And apparently the police cop in Reservoir Dogs was also called Marvin.
Oh God.
So both Vega brothers
shooting Marvin.
And that brings up another. God. Well, this is the point of the podcast, since we're talking about Tarantino, but another trait of Tarantino is he uses the same actors. So they go and bring in, again, Harvey Keitel as
Wolf.
Winston Wolfe.
The Wolf.
Who you'll either know from this infamous film, or you may also know him from his infamous car insurance.
They use it way too much now.
He has made that character
his own. But I mean... I don't know. I mean, using it a few times is fine, but using it all the time, obviously they don't care.
Now. This has been years.
But it kind of thingies the character. It ruins the character a little bit.
But it's funny because it's 20 years ago. Because I think this advert's been on for about 5 years. Then 20 years past that, this came out. So he's reintroduced the character,
brought it back out.
Yeah.
But then there's the reason why he's there, obviously trying to sort out the car. Is because he's at the house of Jimmy, Jules' friend, who is Quentin Tarantino. What a shock! A former colleague, so he must have been in some shady stuff. Obviously, and the Bonnie situation, as the chapter's called, which is quite funny. But I mean, that's the thing as well with a trait with Tarantino. They don't kind of hold back on some language and words.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
which I can get to, and then we'll get to in the next one. Into the next film, but obviously using certain words.
Definitely.
But here's a bit of trivia for you.
Go
on. How many times do you reckon the word fuck was used?
No idea.
I think it's the most in any film.
It's not. But
it's not. Well, maybe not then. But 265 times.
Fair enough. And you know why it's not?
Go on.
Because we talked about this one in our last podcast.
Did we?
Yep.
Oh, which one was it? Oh yeah, it was Wolf of Wall Street, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was 300 odd. Was it 500?
I think it's 506.
Never mind then. It's still a lot though.
Oh no, it's still tons.
But still a lot.
But I knew Wolf of Wall Street just blew it out of proportion. They went so far out. But another interesting one was ideas for who might have been playing the characters, because obviously Vincent Vega is played by John Travolta, and Jules is played by Samuel L. Jackson. But that potentially was going to be Vincent as Tim Roth, who was Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs, and he's been in some other Tarantino films. And Jules, I think this one might surprise you, was potentially going to be played by Gary Oldman.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
And apparently Gary Oldman's been there's been occasions where he could have been in several of Tarantino's. It just hasn't seemed to
didn't work
out. What's your thoughts around Vincent's death after separation from Jules?
As in, like, should it have happened, or... Well, I know that... Because if you remember one of the scenes where Vincent and Butch first meet, they take an instant dislike to each other. Because they're obviously down in that meeting Marcellus in the club. And obviously Butch is there because he was talking to Marcellus about the fight he's going to have the next night. And obviously they both go to the bar and they're talking, and you can tell they don't like each other already. Hardly even met each other. And obviously when Vincent gets told to find him, and he goes to obviously his apartment and everything, he's going to kill him, isn't he? I mean, he's literally just found him. He knows where Butch is now. He would have followed him, so he's going to have to kill him. So I guess it's a necessary thing. It's a spur of the moment thing, isn't it?
I mean, I was thinking more so like Jules and Vincent have like this separation where Jules has this like religious experience as he sees it. It's like that guy comes out of the bathroom and lets off a whole load of like a whole round out of his gun and misses them. Probably so either a terrible shot, or as Jules takes it as
divine intervention,
and so he quits basically the criminal after doing his little cafe stint. But it's a weird one. It's a good one in terms of Jules quits, and you don't know what he does afterwards. But obviously he's still alive.
Gone. He's gone.
But Vincent chooses to carry on and is immediately shot dead. So that's
It's an interesting way to think about it. Like, partners in crime should have stayed together or whatever. But
well, it's also the one you don't know whether it's like he's still a criminal, and as punishment for that, he gets shot immediately. That's obviously a view I thought about it on it. And people take it in different ways. People think it's the toaster's fault.
Bloody toaster.
Just shocked him. Which was your favourite storyline out of the three of them? Like, out of all of them. Or shall I say, did you prefer... Because it's just two mainly, really, isn't it? It's Vincent and Jules, or just Vincent, and the Butch storyline.
I prefer the Vincent and Jules storyline. It's I didn't really get taken in much by the Butch boxing storyline. I did definitely prefer that one. With them, it was more entertaining. I think definitely more going on. Instead of, especially as well, Butch's girlfriend, wife. Oh, she was irritating.
Not
a fan.
Not a fan.
Very, very irritating. I think obviously the only parts that were quite good of that storyline was obviously Vincent's death. Marcellus and bloody hitting him with a car. And then obviously the Gimp scenes. So I think that was about it.
I mean, the interaction between Jules and Vincent were great. Like the chemistry between the two actors was funny, even though it was like serious. Like the guy's just been shot in the head in the back of the car, and they're just like, I'm just going to McDonald's probably.
I shot him in the face. Why'd you do that?
I think that's pretty much everything for Pulp Fiction. Unless you had anything else?
Nope.
So next we have, I think you wanted to go on to Django? Was it? So, I'll go on.
Django. I love this film. I've watched it quite a few times. Django, again, it's kind of a simpler story. It's chronological as well.
So this doesn't do any messing about.
This doesn't do messing about. There's flashbacks and stuff, but it's not that bad. So basically it's the story of a black slave called Django, played by Jamie Foxx, who's saved by dentist / bounty hunter.
Dentist turned bounty
makes
hunter. More money.
Dr.
King Schultz.
And all he basically wanted him for was to ID 3 wanted men that nobody knows what they look like.
Yeah.
And he does, because he came from a plantation that he worked on where they worked.
Yeah.
And I mean, that opening scene shows you the violence and how the film's going to be. I mean, because this is what I was saying about like Tarantino and how his films they don't steer away from like controversial topics.
Yeah.
They try and keep everything as historically accurate as possible, and especially with the certain word, derogatory term for black people, that racist people, they use that a lot.
Yeah. So the N-word for people who
the N-word, they used it a lot. So basically, he takes him from these 2 brothers that are taking these slaves to be sold.
Yeah.
And obviously that shows a bit of how Schultz is, because he kills them both. Yeah. Just like that, but he
doesn't mess about.
No, but he's also very like sophisticated about it.
Yeah.
And how he works and stuff. But obviously he takes Django to ID these men, but they start to form like a bond.
Yeah.
And they start to become close friends.
Yeah.
So like the chemistry between the 2 of them is quite good, that I like. And obviously like when they do find on this plantation these 3 men, and he's obviously, Django's killed 2 of them, and the other one's running away across the field. This part makes me laugh as well. It's like, this should be a serious
positive
one. Yeah, it's like, so are you sure that's him? Yeah. Positive? Don't know. What you don't know if you're positive? Don't know what positive means.
It means, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm positive.
Yeah, you sure? What? Guess what? Yes, I'm sure that's Ellis. Boom. I'm positive he did. But then that part as well, because where he turns around, the mob's coming at him, and he literally throws down his arms, goes, Django, everybody calm down.
Because it's the same with the very first time when he goes into that town, when he just walks in, the sheriff walks in, and he just goes, using his little contraption on his arm. Everyone runs out, goes, okay, do you promise to not shoot me down like a dog in the street like I did to your sheriff?
Yep.
Lovely.
Thank you. So I just like that the film's like
this.
It's very funny.
I mean, the character himself is one of the best that I know from Tarantino's all his films, because he's just got that right bit of sarcasm and like it's not even, I don't even know how to describe it, because it's just so straightforward, even though, because it's like he just shots what people think are their sheriff, their people they're supposed to trust, and he's just like going, I shot him, you don't know why, but I'm confident and I know I'm going to walk out here and you're all law abiding.
And this is why I shot him, and so you owe me money.
The confidence off the scale.
But then obviously the story progresses. He kills these 3 and he says, right, do you want to work as a bounty hunter for me? Yeah. So they work together, but also Django has a wife.
Yeah.
And he wants to save her. So once they've done their bounty hunting winter, they go and try to save Django's wife, where they meet Monsieur Candide.
Yes.
Who can't even speak French.
Oui.
Yeah. Don't speak to him in French. He doesn't know French. That'll embarrass him. It's like, well, why the hell are you calling yourself Monsieur Candide? But this is played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep.
We made an amazing performance of Mr. Candy.
And it's something different though. Like, it's a villainous character that he's playing, which is different from his.
He doesn't use his usual. He's usually like a hero or somewhat along those lines.
Or the protagonist.
Not like a side supporting actor. But I mean, the film really is just a masterpiece and a good depiction of the time. Like I said, nothing's been held back. Yeah. And then obviously like the violence as well, again, of the time.
I mean, this was one of the main ones that did get scrutiny around. I mean, all the films have had scrutiny around, but this one, because it was more recent relatively, I know it was like 8 years ago now, but it had more scrutiny around the violence depiction. But again, it's historical.
It's historically accurate, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's the same with the use of the N-word, which also got a lot of stick.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's historical depiction, but people got... I know a lot of different social circles, so like various newspapers, various media outlets, various people of different backgrounds, like they all got me for different reasons, some for violence, some for use of words, some for how the characters even acted, how depictions of slavery was depicted. But it's difficult to depict something without annoying someone, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing with people nowadays. It's that they want to try and erase history, whereas you can't erase history. You can only learn from it, but you can't say that that never happened and we can never show that. It's like, well, it happened. You learn from it. So obviously, all the depictions of this, that's how it was at the time in that place.
Because I think Samuel Jackson's like a big advocate for Tarantino in this regard. Because when interviewers and journalists have said to him, "Are you okay with this use?" and he's like, "Sod off, that's how it was." Like he's just like big advocate for Tarantino. Not surprisingly, he's like I think he's been in. He's the one who's had the most appearances in Tarantino films. 6 out of 10 films.
Well, I mean, he was in this one as well, wasn't he?
But just to stick on Schultz for a sec, or Christopher Waltz, who he's played as, this was an academic
try that again.
Academy Award he won for this.
Yep.
So amazing performance and just an iconic performance as well from it. This is one of the roles that I think of when I think of Christopher Waltz.
Yes, definitely.
Another funny one, which I'd forgotten about, was Jonah Hill was in it.
Yes, he was, yeah.
Do you remember where he was?
Just the KKK part, like, nobody can see.
This is another, like,
so
humorous moment, isn't it?
Like, this is the KKK, like the starting of it.
My wife spent all this time making these friggin' hoods and now gonna do it again for you lot of unself. And then he could run around and going, "They're not in there," just like, "Auf Wiedersehen."
Bye.
That was a great. I know it's only a short scene near the start, but that was one of my favourite scenes from the film.
It's good, isn't it? But then it's obviously like as well when Schultz shoots Mr. Candy, gets him right in the flower, and he's like, "Sorry,
I had to."
Couldn't resist.
Oh yeah.
It's like he didn't even try to save himself from the guy with the shotgun.
What do you think about that scene when he shoots him?
I feel like he could have definitely tried to save a kill the guy with the shotgun. I mean,
do you think? Why did he kill him?
He killed him because he'd had enough. Because I think he'd had enough that he'd been beaten by Mr. Candy. He hated him and hated everything he stood for. Found him repulsive. And then I think this was like the final straw because he was like, "The deal's not concluded unless you shake my hand," and that was like it. He just was like, "I don't want to shake your hand. I don't like you. I'm going." Yeah. He's like, "Nope, she's still my property until you shake my hand, as is custom in the South." Yeah. And he was like, "Right, okay, bye. I've had enough of you." Yeah. Like I said, I think it was just the final straw, and he just had enough of it.
Because I know it was said at the start of the film he's not a fan of like this like the slavery aspect, although it does say, but it has some useful features, such as when he was using Django. It has useful features, but he's not a fan of the whole regime. I think it's like one of those things. He's this epitome of like what he stands for, as you say. It's like, I'm done with this, done with you, get rid of you. I don't care anymore. No, because it's an odd one, because even though you cheer for the moment, it's quite a selfish act of him as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because he gets the others killed as well.
Yeah,
tries.
Because it's not going to stop a family member just taking over, because if Django hadn't come back, it would have been his sister, I think it was. Yeah. Would have just took over the ranch or the plantation. Yeah. So it's a selfish act, but it's just like, couldn't resist.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Sorry.
But another funny one, Tarantino, another reappearance. This one, not a full role, but he's the one who takes Django after he's captured.
As an Australian mine worker or whatever,
and then gets shot and killed by him.
Typical. But all in all, it's a really good film. I really like it.
What's your opinion on the statement, Stephen was the real villain?
Steve, as in...
Samuel Jackson's character.
No, he wasn't the real villain. I think he was like an accumulation of like the entire thing. I mean, I think really the main there wasn't really a main villain. Yeah. It was more the establishment was the villain. Yeah. Everything that they were working towards. The thing with Samuel L. Jackson Stephen character is that he was institutionalized. I think he was so into being a slave that he was protecting it. He didn't want to be free. That was his life. So he was protecting his master.
Yeah, because he's the one who spills the beans about Brunhilde, about their going on. Another one, the $12,000. Apparently, that was worth in today's day, or a couple of years ago. I think it was. I looked at it. It was a transaction between then and 2018. That would have been worth $365,000 now.
Bloody hell!
So it was quite a bit.
That's a lot of money.
A lot more than I initially thought when I watched the film.
Yeah.
We've talked about depictions of violence in a historical context. Do you think that that's on the depiction of violence in films in general? Because that's a common question that's brought to directors in terms of, should these films that people are watching have as much violence in them as they should?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they should. It's an entertainment business at the end of the day. People want to be entertained, and as much as people like talking films, they want to see action as well. They want to see violence, and like I said, this sort of stuff kind of happened.
Yeah.
So you can't get rid of that just because.
Yeah.
So just leave it.
I mean, I agree definitely. I think people can be very mad about this topic, about violence in films, and I think it's a very hypocritical trait some people go down, because a lot of people seem to go down the line of, okay, because a main argument some people who I've never met or just online seem to go, violence causes violence, or portrayed violence in films, media, any sort of media, games, TV, films, causes people to be violent.
Yeah.
But no one says that. It seems to be a thought that is always around, but no one explicitly says, I think this causes violence.
Yeah.
It's
But
just
they try and imply that it makes.
Because an article I read around this Django thing was someone going around saying, I don't think this film causes violence, but the portrayal of violence in itself is a bad thing for some reason. And it seems a very loopy way around. They're trying to find something wrong with it.
They're trying to find something wrong with it isn't there.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
The only thing that I think can be seen as wrong to do with violence in films can be overexposure to certain acts which can desensitize people.
Yeah.
Because I found a lot to do with news that can happen with desensitizing. Not to get political, but the Trump stuff. Yeah. A big thing with him is lying in statements, and we live in the UK, so whenever something's brought up, we react. Well, I don't do politics a lot, but the mass public acts hugely. It goes, Teresa or David or Gordon said this has actually happened. Everyone's miffed around it. But since Trump's done it so much, I think everyone, not just America, everyone's got desensitized to it. Oh, he lies, that's what he does. Yeah. And I think that's the same can be done with certain violence.
Oh yeah, you can definitely be desensitized to it. That's how overall exposure to something will desensitize to it. You get used to it.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that TV and film has done. Yeah. Because of more portrayal of violence. Not to say it's a horrifically bad thing or causes anything, but I think that's something that has happened over this in the year of television, and that we've become more accustomed to violence.
We have, definitely.
But yeah, that was just a bit of a tangent.
But we still live in one of the most peaceful times.
Yeah.
So people live through this, we just see it.
Yeah.
It's a bit different.
So, did you have anything else for Django?
Nope.
Right. And on to the final one. Now moving on to the final one, which is Inglorious Basterds, which is my favourite film out of the bunch. Yours is Django, but this is my favourite, and it's about it's set in alternative World War II. Yep. Set in France, isn't it?
1944 France.
So portraying this story... It's just a story, isn't it?
It's just a story of Jewish American soldiers that drop into France to kill Jews. It's a simplistic story. To kill Hitler. Well, they don't go into kill Hitler, they go into just kill Nazis.
Yeah, kill Nazis, and then it ends up some plot forms around that they are able to have a shot at Hitler. Yeah. But because that is the main story of it.
That is
what makes the film is the characters in them.
Oh yeah.
I've got to dash to him, which is Colonel Hans Lander.
Yeah.
Again, played by Christopher Waltz, and he's won Academy Awards for this, and we just mentioned King Schultz from Django Unchained. So Tarantino, he's done pretty well.
Yeah.
But incredible performance in this, and Hans Lander being based off Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. And he's a Jew hunter. He's called the Jew Hunter.
He's called the Jew Hunter. He was a detective before the war, and then he got brought in because he was good at finding Jews.
Yeah. So that's his role in the film. He's working for the Nazis, but doesn't really care about the Nazi regime. He's just like, my skills can be done good here.
Yep.
It's getting to the end of it, and near the end of the film, he makes a deal with the Allied forces, going, okay, I'll let you do this plot where you're going to kill Hitler as long as you get me out of the country and give me all these waivers and such like.
Yep. I don't want to have done this for you for then me to go up for war crimes.
Yeah.
And be executed. So help me out.
But it's him, and then there's Brad Pitt as Aldo Raine, I think it is.
Aldo Raine. Yeah.
So he's like the head of the Jewish Americans,
the Basterds.
Yeah. Coming in to kill these Nazis, and his little crew's great. I mean, him himself, he's just a macho, like leader of the group, and then his other characters are a bit lesser, but like he has the bear, is he called?
The Bear Jew.
Bear Jew.
The Bear.
That was a
Jew.
hilarious scene.
That was,
it?
yeah. And that again, a bit more violence, but that was funny.
And then the other main one is Shoshana, is it?
Shoshana. Yes.
Who is the French Jew who managed to escape from Lander at the start of the film, and then 3 years later she is running a cinema where the culmination of the film ends up being. Mm-hmm. But those are the three main characters within it, I feel. I don't know if I'm missing anyone.
There's
also what's he called? Hickox, which is played by Fassbender.
Yes, I was thinking of him. But then you've also got another maybe supporting actor, which is he's the guy out of, I think it's Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the German. The character's name's Frederick Zoller.
Oh, his is more like tied with Shoshana, though.
Yes, it is, but he kind of helps with the story a bit.
He's the one who has it all set at the cinema because he fancies Shoshana. Yeah. But interesting one of Inglorious Basterds was that apparently Tarantino wrote the script for this in 1998, but he struggled with the ending of it. Yeah. He didn't know what to do with the ending, so it took him then, obviously working on other projects and leaving that to the side. So he wrote it then, and then 10 years later, because it came out in 2009.
2009, yeah, 11 years ago now.
So. Benny was so old now.
I know. A good scene that I liked as well was the basement bar.
Yeah, with Hickox.
With Hickox and the what's the name? I can't remember the actress's name, but it's Von Hammersmark. Yeah, obviously speaking in German. Like, this film is full of subtitles because they're always talking in different languages.
Definitely.
And obviously this is them like learning about Hitler being there, but then obviously it ties in, like, there's an SS officer that comes over and they play a game of Who Am I or whatever.
And the Hickox, sort of played by Fassbender, his mannerisms and like he's put into scrutiny, which then ends up
showing him as British. Yeah, because he used the English way of three. So,
so apparently, I don't know if this is an actuality. I don't know if
doing that 3.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an actual German thing. Yeah. I've not been to Germany, so I don't know if it's an actual thing.
Maybe that's.
Apparently, the German way of showing 3 is putting up your thumb and index and middle finger. Yeah. And in the film, he puts up his marriage finger. Yeah. Can't remember what the actual name. Index finger and middle finger up.
2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4. Sorry.
Which is apparently the English way of doing it, or non-German way of doing it.
Well, to be fair, when after it, I'd have thought, I was like, it's kind of easier doing it the German way, if anything. German efficiency.
It's like bending your middle finger.
Yeah. German efficiency.
Yeah, it works. One thing I didn't realise, like this is only from like researching, was Germany has laws or restrictions on icons such as the swastika.
Yes, they do.
This something I didn't know about, but like depictions of the swastika, they ban out of most things. So like on the advertising, they didn't censor the movie. But when they advertised it, its swastikas were taken out of any sort of promotional material. I think one I saw was there's a helmet with a bullet with a swastika on it, which they edited to have a bullet through instead. So that was just an interesting thing I read upon, which I hadn't realised before.
A good thing that I like with this film as well, and Christopher Waltz's character, is that his use of languages. As a person, Christopher Waltz is very smart.
Yes.
And he knows, I'm pretty sure it's 5 or 6 languages.
He's fluent in 3 and then knows
he knows a bit of the others. So he can speak English, he can speak German, and he can speak French fluently.
Yeah, and then he speaks Italian.
And he speaks Italian as well, and I'm sure he knows a bit of Spanish, but not too much. But obviously he uses those 3, the main ones, and it's like, oh wow, that's pretty good.
Because that's another humorous moment. That's not meant to be humorous, where they basically get caught, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they come in as 3 Italian filmmakers. Because they say like Germany or German people don't have a good understanding of Italian, and then he comes in and goes, "I'm fluent, sono grazie."
Grazie.
Grazie. Just like, it's like John or something like that. Where they are like,
Margarete.
One
more time, please.
It's just like it's going to make it sound even better if I just make it even more stereotypically sounding. It's like going, okay, I'm going to sound Scottish if I just make it sound really Scottish. Like, it's just if I say it louder and more like stereotypic. German, English, French, like he does throughout, because and that's one of the tensest moments in the film as well. Was between Hans Landa and I can't remember her name.
Vod Hammersmark.
No, the French Shoshana. When they're having the strudel.
Strudel.
They're doing it all in French.
Yep.
Well, it's one of the tensest moments in the film because he knows, or it's implied that he knows who she is. Yep. So tense. Then he's like, "Oh, forgot," and then it's like, and in the aftermath, she's obviously like hyperventilating.
Oh my god.
But it's those sort of performances, those sort of moments that, because he's such an up and down character. I know this is going into a tangent, thing on his character, but he has this serious moment, and the opening scene was incredible as well. When he's the first character and he does his Sherlock Holmes, he does his deductions about the person hiding the Jews under his floorboards, but like his switch around, like in that tense scene, and then in the end, he's just like. Going off saying he takes it back, he goes, "Forgotten, don't worry," sticks his cigarette into his strudel and then walks off. So that's like a serious version. And then later on he's like going, "It's a bingo."
Is that how you say it?
It's like just say bingo. It's a very up and down character.
Oh yeah, very much so. I love the character though.
Another I think the only other interesting point I had on it was a name it almost had, or a name that was contemplated, was called Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied France.
That's a tongue twister.
You think that, but it obviously transferred to now, because obviously his most recent film is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. So he's stuck around.
I think there is. I think at the start of the film, it does start off like the cinematic says Once Upon a Time.
That was considered to be like the actual title of the film. Yeah, could have worked. I mean, it's worked now, so.
Oh yeah.
You never know. Alternate universe and all that. That's pretty much everything from me on that.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I think we'll go on to our
So
favourite film.
I mean, I've said Inglorious Basterds. That's my favourite. I can rewatch that.
I've said mine's Django. I can keep rewatching that because I just love it too much. Favourite character out of all of them.
Again, I think I'm being but Hans Landa. He's my favourite character from it all. You?
I said the same.
You said Hans Landa as well.
It was between Hans Landa and Schultz, but I think Landa got it because I mean it was just detective turned a Jew hunter. He was absolutely ruthless and clever, using obviously his languages and everything to his betterment, and But it's the part as well, like he thinks he's got off scot-free.
I know, I don't... That end scene, it's sort of a weird one, I feel, with, because even though it's his comeuppance, and that's a good thing, it also feels like he's been a bit cheated. Like, or at least I feel like he's done all this so well.
Yeah.
But he should have got away.
Yeah.
He should have got he shouldn't have gotten away with it because of moral reasons. But it's like he got cheated out of it.
I mean, it's obviously the thing of obviously scarring his head with the Nazi symbol, which he did to the other German prisoners, but he hardly hurt them. So as you could see on like the knife when he finished with the German prisoner, it had just a little bit of blood. So it was just like a scratch maybe.
Yeah, this one dug in.
This one, oh my god, he proper dug in, and you could hear it. Like obviously, Lando was screaming.
He definitely deserved.
Yeah.
Because even though he goes, "Oh, I'm not bothered. I'm just doing a good job. What I'm doing." Deserved it from how many people he's caught and everything. Just a very interesting character.
Yeah, definitely.
Lovely. So that is us. We are on social at Twitter at _What'sOnPodcast and Instagram, YouTube and Facebook at the What's On Podcast. Thank you very much for listening.
Cheers.
If you want to share a review, please do, because apparently that helps. So we're on, I think it's Apple Podcast is meant to be for, but someone mentioned that I should let people know. So leave a review if you enjoyed. Thank you.
Ciao.